Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to an all-new Build Out live stream. You can join the stream every Wednesday at noon Eastern Daylight Time. The stream will be starting in just 1 minute. In the meantime, let me take this opportunity to talk about the graphic design platform that I use to create the social media graphics, overlays, and studio graphics for the Build Out series. Canva is both an online platform for your desktop and laptop, and also offers an app for smartphones and tablets. With the Canva graphic design platform, you can easily create social media, presentations, posters, documents, and other visual and video content. While there is a free version, Canva is best when using the affordable Canva Pro subscription and Canva Enterprise. So if you want to build out your social media and visual content, you need to use Canva. I'll make it easy for you to sign up. Just use the referral link provided on this stream's event post or in the video description with this stream's recorded posted to my YouTube channel. Okay, now let's get this Build Out live stream started. Today on Build Out, my guest is Dr. I from Classroom Without Walls. Dr. I is here to speak about learning beyond the classroom, a new way to future-proof our children. Okay, let's get the conversation started. Dr. I, welcome to Build Out.
Thank you so much for having me, Jim. Honored.
It's great. It's an honor for me to have you on here. I follow you on LinkedIn. I watch your live stream program. You know, before we really get into talking about your live stream and our conversation on today's topic, could you provide for the viewers a background and a little bit about your story?
Yeah, definitely. So first off, I'm really excited to be here and share what I'm so passionate with your audience. So I am a professor turned entrepreneur, or sometimes I say that I'm a professor dropout. I got my master from Syracuse, and I got my PhD from University of Maryland, and then started teaching in the classroom for quite a few years. And by the time I think I got my tenure and I got my associate professor position, I came to the conclusion that the current education model is no longer serving today's teenagers and young adults. And I tried to dismantle the system from the within, meaning that I was doing innovation within the system, but not very successful. So I discovered that the best way to innovate in education is actually to create a different model from the outside, dismantle the system from the outside. So I resigned from my college professor position and started building my own company, which is Classroom Without Walls. And since I resigned and the company has been growing, my work has been featured in Forbes and Entrepreneur Today Show and many other places. Super thankful. And I'm also an Adobe education leader, Adobe insider. I also work with HubSpot Academy. So yeah, that's kind of my story background.
Oh, very good. And for today's conversation, here's the agenda for Dr. I and myself. We're going to be talking about learning beyond the classroom, her live stream. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about what the current state of public education, but we also want to talk about global education, of a quick overview of a article that I want for everyone to check out after the stream. And also, too, I think what we'll end up doing is obviously talking about, a new way to future-proof our children. Dr. I, let's talk about your live stream. I watch it. Many people watch your live stream, and it is an awesome stream because you get so much great information, and you're very energetic and very entertaining. So it's an awesome stream, and I encourage everyone to check it out. Let's talk a little bit about your live stream.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for catching my live shows. Really appreciate. So it is called. I used to run 2 different live streaming shows. And so after some readjustment business strategy, so now I only focus on one. So it is called What is School For? This entire show is really inspired by my interview with Seth Godin. And so Seth Godin, he is a great leader in marketing, but I also think he's an amazing pioneer in education. He really challenges me to think about the purpose of education. So therefore, the show is called What is School For? So on the show, I interview entrepreneurs, business leaders, and teachers, parents, and students. We discuss, debate, and disrupt education. And I have interviewed high school dropouts who are making million-dollar businesses, and a college dropout in very non-traditional perspective on education. So that is on every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time or noon Eastern, EST. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And the guests that you have on there, you'll have, like you said, you'll have people from different industries, different walks of life. Maybe their life story was challenging. Maybe even too, they've had great success. And that's what I like about the guests that you bring on in the topics, because it's not just you get more out of it than just, let's say, the education conversation. Yeah, you learn a lot about, what other people are doing related to business, lifestyle, living, and everything like that. And, earlier in the pre-stream, we were talking about, some of the feedback I would receive regarding this live stream. And there are a lot of challenges I think that people are encountering right now related to their children in the education systems and things like that. Let's talk a little bit right now, obviously, about the current state, let's say, of obviously public education domestically here in the States, but maybe you have a global perspective that I'm not going to have, related to education system. Could we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, many issues. I am actually first generation immigrant, and I grew up in China, and I came to the United States to actually pursue and experience a different education model because how disappointed I was in the Chinese education model. And after 2 decades in the United States, I have to say that I think the US is doing something that I feel like the Chinese has been doing for so many years that didn't even work. This very strong emphasis on standardized exams, standardized this, standardized that, and an overemphasis on math. Not to say that learning math is not right, but actually through a very standardized process. Before I dive deeper into the education, I want to follow up on what you said earlier, Jim. And just on my show a few weeks ago, I interviewed this kid who is a high school, who barely survived high school and just started college and dropped out of college a few days. And now he's running a multi-million-dollar business. Like, how amazing is that? A few years ago, no, I think last year or 2 years ago, I interviewed another young man, and he's really he struggled a lot as a college student and couldn't even get admitted into business school because his math was not good. But guess what? He's also running $1 million business. So from those stories, you hear that it's not that they cannot do math. Clearly, if they run $1 million business, they know how to do numbers. But it is because the way that we're teaching our children about math is wrong. Not just about math, about so many things. It's just not the right way. And so that is definitely a problem. And also, and speaking of education, and many parents, and I struggle with this myself. And because we all grow up with this belief that you really need to earn as many A's as possible. Grade is all that matters to become successful in life, to have a great career, right? Did you grow up with that belief, Jim? I did.
Yeah, I did, but I was never that all-A student.
That's a good thing. So I really grew up with that belief, and that's why I got so many degrees, and only to discover how wrong is that, because just like there's so much research has been showing, like, for example, there was a global, you were asking a global perspective, there was a global big study talking about how GPA, grade point average, is actually inversely related to innovation. In other words, the higher the grade, the less likely a kid is to innovate. And I see this in my classroom all the time because I teach students in higher education. And one thing I noticed that almost across all of my classes, students are very obedient. they're very good at listening and following my instructions. Just my teaching syllabus, 20 years ago when I just started teaching, my syllabi was for all of my courses were like maybe like 5 pages. But as time moves on and students are asking more and more detailed instructions, it is almost like filling in the blank. I feel like they don't want to think. They just like, Dr. I, tell me what do you want me to do? And they will fill in the blank. They are not very good at challenging me, questioning me, and innovating based on what I said, but they are very good at listening and obey. They're very obedient. And you really have to question, right? Is that what we want in the 21st century for our student leaders and obedience? No, I don't think that's the case. So if that is not what we're looking for, then we should really stop being so obsessed with our children's academic performance, for example, and develop better ways to evaluate our children, to guide them to become career ready and future ready. So those are just some of my personal takes on education.
Yeah, definitely. And let me pull this. Is going to be a little, obviously a large comment here coming from Lee Wilson from the UK. During the lockdown, he self-taught his children after their schoolwork. And he said here, I slowly began to learn them my profession in simple, understandable way for my industry, none covered in general curriculum and numerous aspects which needs to be incorporated in the general curriculum. So children can learn what the future requirements are and the education required for needs. And obviously, I think that's the one thing related to, obviously, the global pandemic was that with the lockdowns and with the modified schooling that was done, the children and the parents are, together a lot more versus when the children would go to the school physically. So they're learning a lot more from their parents, but also observing their parents doing their work, daily work activities and things like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, like self-education is like a good point. And I think, during the pandemic, we really see so many issues came up to the surface. One thing that I'm very concerned is that, like, you listen to NPR, the radio stations, everyone's talking about, oh, wow, all of a sudden the routine is gone. So students, they don't know what to do. But I think that's the wrong question. Why can't we really help our children to build their internal self-agency, to control their life, to design their lives, right? So one question I ask my students all the time is that, are you living your life by design or by default? Most of our students, they are living their life by default. And the default is created by school teachers, by parents. We are controlling our kids' schedule. We are, when you think about for a kid who goes to school every day at 9 a.m., they go to school, take this class, do that class, 10 a.m., use the bathroom, lunchtime, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, after you do that for 5 or 10, whatever years, all of a sudden, when that external structure is gone, and children feel collapsed, like they have never had an opportunity to build their internal agency, build their internal ability to design their day-to-day life. And then, like because of what I think about home education in general, like we homeschool our kids. And I can tell you, even on days when there's no external structure, my kids, even my 7 years old, knows exactly what they need to do on that day, right? They have been designing their day based on their interests as opposed to a standardized curriculum. I think that is something that every single parent, ideally, school learning is only 20%. It doesn't matter you go to a private school, you go to a community college, whatever school you go to. It is important. We need that education, and many people still need that piece of paper. So, but I think that is only 20%. 80% happens actually outside the classroom, and developing this self-agency, self-initiation, the ability to design their day-to-day life. That is something our kids can never get from school. So parents, we really need to supplement that. That is one thing. And to wrap this point up is that I love this quote: self-education makes a fortune. I think it's formal education makes a living, right? Do you want to make a fortune, or do you want your children to just have a living? So ask yourself this question, and that your answer will influence how you want to parent your kid.
So what you're saying is, obviously if your children are in public education, or if they're in a private school, or they're homeschooled with classroom without walls, this is more to augment, to supplement, to fortify, and to obviously get them to that next level that they need to be at. How obviously a lot of here domestically, a lot of states and the federal government, they throw money at school systems. And also, too, I think you were talking earlier, we were talking about standardization, where now they're talking about adjusting standardization to kind of make it, let's say, take it down some levels to make it look better. What can result from doing that?
I think I mean, I have been in the system for my entire professional career. I have just become very cynical. I think it's going to take a long time for them to make changes. I think to truly disrupt education, you need more people like myself, Khan Academy. There are so many alternative education models. We are making changes, we are making disruptions outside the system. And that is going to give some pressure to the school to finally, innovate, right? Disrupt or be disrupted, right? So many schools choose. There was a education futurist at Harvard University. I think in 2018, he made a prediction, which is 50% of American colleges will go bankrupt in the next 10 years. That was a prediction he made in 2018, and that was before COVID. So with COVID and whatever is happening, I think more schools are struggling. So like school leaders can continue to be in denial, right? Everything's fine, or they actually pay attention to what is happening. And just recently, there was a Forbes article came out serving like American parents. Most American parents actually value an internship at Google as more important than a college degree from Harvard University. And on top of that, the importance of college education has decreased, I think, 50% over the last 6 years. That is really high number. That is very concerning. If I were, working at those schools, and I personally have friends who are college professors got laid off because their school is gone, right? And so I think school leaders really need to pay attention to those trends and invest wisely, how they are using their money, and not just make the school building looks nicer, but actually make some substantial changes to really improve, increase teacher salary, to really improve some substantial changes to improve the quality of teaching, not to make school look better. When I was a teacher before I resigned, and I felt like 70% of what I do is to perpetuate the system, like doing standardized exams. 30% of what I did was to serve my students. And I think that is wrong. We need to flip that model. At least 70% of what we do as teachers should be serving our students, and only 30% to perpetuate the system. I mean, those are just some of my thoughts. I don't know if they are too negative.
No, those are great points. And the other thing too is you probably obviously recognize this, and I think as a parent, I have adult daughters, and I recognize this watching the news and listening to obviously your live stream and other news outlets. It seems like we're kind of at a transitional period, an evolutionary period, and we need to embrace it, change with it, and it will be disruptive. And I know you cover a lot of aspects of disruptive, but also too in the aspect of, even with embracing the soft skills, the technology, to your point, the internships or the mentoring that needs to be incorporated to make more of a holistic roundness, let's say, to someone's education than just, learning this and then repeating it back. Where do you see the future of education moving towards? And that might be another live stream we need to do together. But
oh my God, I'm sorry.
Maybe give me the condensed version.
You just opened a can of worms. And so first of all, I took some notes here, and you were talking about private education.
Yes.
When I started, when I just became a mom, I have 3 boys myself. They're very young. And I was like doing all the research. I was like, yeah, private school must be better. Public school is not that good. Maybe private school is better. So we did lots of research, sending our kids to private schools, and only to discover, oh, wow, very similar. That's why what I said earlier, it doesn't matter your kid goes to a private school, public school, whatever, it is only 20%. So for children who go to private schools, especially if you have teenagers, and research has shown that for kids who go to a private school, especially academically rigorous, like really top tier private schools, children have the same level of mental health issues as kids grow up in foster care, as kids who have parents in prison and in poverty. So isn't that crazy? Children who go to those really amazing, extremely competitive, academically rigorous private schools, their mental health issues are the same as kids grew up in poverty, foster care, and parents in prison. And I see that all the time. They really need lots of mental health work. So that is a big part. And also at the same time, like this is how their mental health has been really negatively affected. And I think last year there was a study from Yale University that came out saying that 85% of American high schools are feeling extremely negative about their high school experience, including they're feeling stressed and bored and tired. Those are the three dominant emotions. But at the same time, you're talking about, Jim, you're talking about, soft skills and emotional intelligence. And I have so much to say about this because those are the skills that truly matter. Okay, so school students, when they go to school, they spend so much time learning the hard skills, which I think is really important, but they totally ignore the softer side. I don't call soft skills. I call them essential life skills. They have no essential life skills. And there was a Harvard study that came out a few years ago. They studied people's career achievement. 85% of people's career advancement comes from soft skills, not hard skills. That is how important this is. And I work with Adobe. So there was an Adobe study came out last year, and they scanned millions of resumes, job postings to discover what are the factors that really matter that can get our children jobs, right? Like really good jobs. And they discovered 5C: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and creative problem solving. Those are the important skills that our students are very lacking. They're not developing. But I understand if every day you are doing the bubble sheets, right, doing multiple choices exams, how can you collaborate? Collaboration is considered cheating, right? And it just doesn't work like communication. In real life, that's why I love homeschooling. Our children do not only talk to their peers, they talk to me, people who are older and younger. And for our kids to really foster their communication skills, which is the number one of the 5C, they need to talk to people of different ages. We need a multi-generational education, not just like peer-to-peer education. So that is another missing link. So the soft skills are very important. But we need a better learning environment to really help our kids to foster the 85% that actually matters, instead of being so obsessed. Advanced chemistry class, advanced math class, that's the class that I took when I was a kid. They didn't help me get to where I am today. I'm telling you, communication skills, emotional intelligence, those are the skills really help me run my company, get to where I am today.
Definitely. So let's switch a little gears here. We're talking about obviously soft skills and things like that. Let's talk about Carl Davenport posted this regarding Republic of Ireland related to trade schools. Obviously we need to really get the trades moving, not only here domestically, but probably globally as well. I work in the aspects of the corrosion industry, industrial painting, and there's a crunch. It's tough to find quality craft workers and individuals who are coming out of school and want to go into the trades. Related to trades, how how does your system also approach trade schools and that
I mean,
type of?
that's a great comment. I love it. I so agree. You know, traditionally we believe it takes a village to
Yes.
raise children. And it is so true, right? Like I think it is irresponsible to just send your kid to school, think that I call this outsourcing education. And I think that is wrong to believe that this school will take care of my kids' entire education. No. And we need schools to be a big part of this. At the same time, we need different organizations, professionals, leaders to be a part of this. And talking about the the traditional educational model, before I resigned from my college professor position, I always wanted to bring in industry professionals like you, Jim, right, to teach a class, to give my student a talk. Every single time I got rejected because those people do not have that piece of paper. And I think that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong because there's only so much you can learn from academics. Even though I got all the degrees, I really had no idea before I started my company. I really had no idea how to apply everything I was teaching in the classroom. I really had no idea because I didn't have any professional experience. So I think ideally we need those co-ops. We need collaborations between professors, teachers, and industry professionals to co-teach a class so that we know what is actually happening. We need. So I recently did the opening keynote for Adobe Education. So I think future leaders, future teachers are those who are educators and practitioners at the same time. And so this is something that I do at Classroom Without Walls for all of my students. They don't just learn from me, but they also learn from industry professionals. It is so empowering for the students to learn more about the industry before they invested in expensive education, right? So I always have students who wanted to be a lawyer, to be an engineer, to be a public relations practitioner, whatever they want to do, because they watched a drama, a TV show, or they played a computer game. They're like, I want to be a gamer. But after they have some real conversations with industry professionals, only to discover that, oh, wow, just because I love playing games, it doesn't mean that I will be a good gamer. Those two are totally different. But without that real touch with someone from the industry who is actually doing this, it is going to take our students many years, a lot of money to finally discover that, oh, wow, this is not for me. And I see students like that all the time. After a 4-year college, they started working. They're like, this is my career. This is what my major is actually about. I hate it. That's why, 80% people, there's a Gallup study saying that I think 85% of people actually hate their job because, if I invest in a bar exam, so much money in my education, I have to train myself to love it, even though I hate it, right? So people in this dilemma until they hit mid-age crisis, which was my example. It's like, finally, I need to do something about my life. I just cannot hate my life anymore.
Yeah, I remember when I graduated from high school, I went into college on a probationary status and, struggled to try to discover, who do I want to be when I, truly become, go from a young adult to an adult and, change the majors and everything like that. Graduated. And then I did my master's degree, but I let a long gap go in my master's, probably about 12 or 13 years, if I remember correctly, before I started the program. And I fell into this industry. I work in corrosion and protective coatings, and I love it. And it took me forever to find this industry that I'm right now. But, I'd like to go back to what Lee Wilson wrote. Lee Wilson he works globally as a coatings inspector. He's also a technical writer, publisher, and things like that. And what his statement was where, after his children were having their lessons or school lessons done, he was going through and he was explaining to them and covering what he does. And, I think that aspect of parents doing that and sitting down and say, okay, this is what I do. This is what your mother does, or other family members, because sometimes the thing with it is a lot of family members I know, well, friends, let's say friends of family members or whatever, sometimes they follow the profession of their parents, if they're a doctor or a lawyer, or maybe even if they're in a trade. So I think that's also too something that's missing in some cases with the
100%,
families as well.
100%. It's so great. Like I'm an entrepreneur, and my kids, they are definitely influenced by me, and they are my 10 years old. He started selling stuff online since he was 8 and making money online. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. And yeah, I think that's a great example. It also helps. I just like my 10 years old started selling stuff on eBay when he was 8. And we actually use that as a school learning project to do photography skills, like writing skills, how do you draft a headline that people actually click on it. And we also learned math that way, shipping, packaging, how much we should charge. And I love those real life projects that it's not just you go to a math class to learn math, but actually through real life examples that you are learning writing, listening, communication, collaboration, math, all those skills. And I think, parents should definitely share more about what they do. And again, do not just rely on the school to take care of their kids, but actually be more involved and share their work. Yeah, I love that.
I love that too. What you have, your children are doing, and obviously it validates everything that you talk about, and that you're out there also too working with others as well. So that is an awesome story to have to hear that at such a young age, and they'll grow up to be entrepreneurs or whoever. You never know what they might one day become. So that it's amazing to hear these stories.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's just like a school project, right? It's just like.
Yeah.
If you go to school, there are so many school projects that you're probably not interested. This to me is just it's a vehicle for them to develop essential life skills.
Excellent. So Dr. I, what I'm going to do is play a real short video, and the video is actually from American Libraries Association regarding, basically preparing preparing teens, let's say, and it kind of covers, obviously, one of the elements of it is the soft skills. In the video description on YouTube, also in the LinkedIn comments, I have a link to the article for everyone to check after the stream, not during the stream with Dr. I, but after the stream. So just hold on one quick minute here. I hope that you're finding value in today's conversation with Dr. I from Classroom Without Walls. I recently read an interesting article from American Libraries magazine titled Career Readiness for Teens, and I recommend you check out this article after today's stream. In the article, it focuses on the importance to prepare young adults for the workforce, especially the traits of professionalism, communication, perseverance, self-direction, and collaboration. Many libraries across America, starting in 2019, established programs that focused on the youth to help them develop their soft skills, which are valued in the workplace. So after the stream ends, you'll find the link to American Libraries magazine article in the comments section for this live stream, as well as the description of this stream's recording on my YouTube channel. Okay, now back to Dr. I to finish our conversation on learning beyond the classroom, a new way to future-proof our children. Excellent. And like I say, just check that link out after the stream ends today. So Dr. I, let's move into our final topic, which is
I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we go there, because I just saw this comment from Mike. Can I just comment on that?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
He said, as a hiring manager, soft skills are what I'm looking for. I'm not impressed by credentials. It is such a great comment, because I really want more parents, whoever is watching this right now or replay, to pay attention to this, because this is the trend. Elon Musk said that to work for Tesla, I don't even care. You definitely don't need a PhD. And he doesn't even care if you graduate from high school. 20 plus companies have eliminated their college degree requirement. So we are moving toward this degree hiring versus skill-based hiring. So more and more companies are doing this skill-based hiring, like including hard and soft skills. I don't really care that piece of paper, but what I do care more is that can you translate what you have learned through that piece of paper into real life? So I just want to make a comment.
No, that's a great point. And, obviously those that are watching the stream and will watch the stream and replay, there a lot of them are related, not related. They're working, around, hiring and bringing in staff and everything like that. And, I know that's a challenge. I know it in the industries that I work in, but across many different industries, it's not about the degree. It's about the experience either through mentoring, internship, or, again, getting it from other ways. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about a new way to future-proof our children. And I highly encourage everyone after the stream also to go check out your website. And then before the end of the stream here, I'll have you provide how to get there and everything like that, and your contact information. What are the best ways for us to future-proof our children?
Yeah, I think, if a tough question for me to answer in a few minutes. So at Classroom Without Walls, we have a 3-phase process. The first phase is called preparation. I think for any kid goes through the traditional education system, they need to go through a process of unlearning. So that is what I do under preparation. You need to help your kids unlearn a number of old practices that are no longer serving our kids. Like, for example, traditional children who go to school, they feel very scared of making a mistake. Remember, like that red mark? Yeah, they're so scared of that. So that is something you need to help shift their mind toward failures and mistakes, to really embrace that failures, mistakes are unavoidable. You need them in order to become successful, not be afraid of it. Because again, research has shown that. That's why one of my favorite books is A students work for C students, B students work for the government. Sometimes I notice in my own classes, smart students, they're not very innovative because they're afraid to lose a point, to not have that A. But C students, they already see it, they don't really care, right? Like they're having all sorts of crazy ideas. Sometimes those crazy ideas are true innovation. So you really want your kids to help them become future ready, to go through this unlearn process. Like at my school, in my home, we celebrate. Wow, you made a mistake today? Yeah, that's so amazing. Like my 7-year-old, if you ask him, he will be excited to tell you that this is how we brainwash our kids. Mom, I made a mistake today. I'm so excited. I was like, yeah. So I think that is the environment that we need to, to shift that, to help our kids unlearn. And Albert Einstein, one of my favorite quotes from him is that if you have never made a mistake in your life, you have never tried anything new. I just love it. It is so true. So, that is just one example. And there are some other things you need to help your kids to unlearn, to help them be career ready. And the second phase of my curriculum to help kids to be future ready is called creation. And traditional schools ask our children to do homework, which only involves memorization, regurgitating information, and that is replaced by AI, right? Google has lots of facts and information. We don't need our kids to remember every single historical event, memorize all the information. And what the highest level of learning is to create. So ask your kids to design projects for your children to create. Can they do maybe write an ebook? If they are really into history, like my son is really into history, can you write a book about the US presidents? And whatever they're passionate about, ask them to create original work. And as they're creating some original work, that is how they develop real life skills. And the last phase of my curriculum is called acceleration. That is where we focus on soft skills. We really help our kids to cultivate a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset, which comes from traditional schooling sometimes because they're so afraid of doing this wrong, upsetting the teacher, upsetting the parents. And so you really want to cultivate that growth mindset. And something else that I'm really proud of myself for creating at my school, and which I encourage every single educator and parent to do, is to help our kids understand their brain. This is so important. We actually, human beings, we have 3 brains, not just one. We actually have 3, right? The prefrontal lobe and the limbic system, the reptilian brain. And what happens, it's just so fascinating. You want your kids to work smarter, not just harder. So when they really understand how their brain works, they will work hard, but they can also work smarter. And it is really fascinating. So I highly recommend that. So those are kind of 3 phases, that I think if you follow this process, can really help your kids be future ready.
So some of the viewers that are watching this and also watch the replay, they're involved in, hiring, running their companies. And, how do companies need to embrace your type of, your system and everything like that? How do they incorporate that? How they embrace that or work with it?
Yeah, like a simple question, a simple change they can do is that do a personality assessment, right? So one thing that my students join my program is that we always do a personality assessment, and to really understand who they are. Most people are feeling so miserable at their career or current job is because their job, the core values involved in their job are not aligned with who they are. So to have that alignment involves understanding who you are. And I use, so for my own website, I build lots of funnels for my company. I use ClickFunnels. And Russell Brunson, who is the founder of ClickFunnels, that's how they hire people. They hire people and based on personality traits, based on weaknesses, based on there are also assessment that you can ask your children to do or ask candidates to do to understand their strengths, understand their weaknesses. And more and more companies are doing personality tests because, for example, for me, I'm the CEO of my company. I'm the visionary. I'm not very detail oriented. So when I hire people, I ask them to do a personality test, to do a strength, weaknesses assessment. I know, okay, this person, this, and that. And this person have skills that I absolutely do not have. I'm like, oh, wow, I need this person. This person is really detail oriented. This person is a big picture person. I'm already a big picture person. Maybe I don't need that. So that really helps me make decisions in terms of hiring, as opposed to only looking at credentials. To me, it doesn't even make sense to me, right? You get an A in communication class. Well, I can't tell you how many people who have A's in communication classes cannot communicate, right? So that's I think the very first step people can do is to incorporate more personality assessment, strengths, weaknesses assessment, so that you can hire smartly. Yeah. Someone can do what you cannot do.
Exactly. Credentialing really comes into play if you're looking at trades. Obviously, if you've got someone doing some work, you want to make sure that they do have that background, and it might not really involve, a lot of their soft skills, but they're really good at fixing something or repairing or installing something. It's just amazing the conversation we were having and everything like that. And I think you and I could probably talk for hours. And I enjoy your live streams on Fridays. Where can everybody catch your live stream at?
So they can watch me live on my LinkedIn. So I go live like you, Jim. I go live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, all the channels. So they can catch me live or watch all the replays on my YouTube channel, which is Classroom Without Walls _Dr. I think that's the channel's name. But if you just search Classroom Without Walls, I think my channel should be the top. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. You definitely rank very well on searches. So that just goes to the popularity of Classroom Without Walls. And Dr. how can people get in contact with you? Do you have an email that people should reach out to, or just go to your site?
Yeah, I'm really active on LinkedIn. It is a great place to stay in touch with me. And I absolutely love plug for LinkedIn. I love it. And so connect with me on LinkedIn. And or if you want to email me, you can also email me at AI. The easier way to remember my name is artificial intelligence. So AI at classroomwithoutwas.ai. So.
Excellent. And before we wrap up, I wanted to do a preview of next week's guest. I have James Lauren on. We're going to be talking about the importance of copywriting in the age of digital transformation. So I'm looking forward to have a great conversation with James next week. And like I say, everybody check out Dr. I's website. Look her up on LinkedIn.
Oh, can I also share something, Jim?
Yeah, go ahead. We got time.
So as an entrepreneur, I see myself as a creative problem solver. So, thank you so much, Mike. So I see a problem, so I create the solution. So I always give my students a planner, and for them to kind of design, this live your life by design. So I couldn't find any good ones. So I designed my own. This is something I'm really proud of. I will show you and everyone. So this one comes with 2 boxes. So the inside is my planner, and so disruptors planner, because I see myself as a disruptor.
I agree with that.
And I want to encourage other people to also disrupt. So there's another box, and inside the box, so as you can see, this is something that I have been really passionate about. I share this on every podcast that I'm on. So this is my planner, 400 pages.
Wow.
Lots of exercises, planning, dreaming, and goal setting. So I'm really excited about this. Anyone interested in the planner, you can go to Disruptor, DISPTOR, disruptorplanner.com. So check this out. And with the planner, I'm doing a big promotion and before Christmas. And with the purchase of the planner, and I also created a monthly plan with me strategy and accountability session that you can join for free. It's like free coaching call. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Everyone check that out, and please support Dr. I and Classroom Without Walls. Dr. I, this has been an awesome interview. I've been so looking forward to this, and it turned out even better than I anticipated it would be.
Yeah, I have fun. I'm really excited. So thank you so much, Jim. And the honor is all mine. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. You never know. Maybe you and I will be able to get together again and have another live stream together.
100%.
All right. You have a great day now, okay?